Hi everybody, welcome once again to Out of the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. I'm Robert Taylor, coming to you on WMTV.
And I'm Pamela Hill-Taylor, and as you know, we bring you guests who uplift, enlighten, inspire, educate, entertain. And I think we got a lot of education and travel today.
Oh yes, and enlightenment.
Lots of enlightenment.
Lots of enlightenment. So we have a dear friend on the show. She's been a friend for many years and a very long time practitioner of the ancient spiritual science of Bhakti-yoga. It gives us great pleasure to welcome Cynthia Knapp to the show. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. We're so glad you could come.
So, truly, you've been involved in spirituality your whole life, practically. Tell us how you got your start, and when.
Well, the start in Krishna consciousness, I actually joined in 1969, so it was still in the 60s when there was a time I was searching for God, for the truth, and praying a lot. I didn't really know much about Indian culture at the time. I did become a vegetarian and was interested in yoga, and I had the good fortune to meet Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami.
And we actually have a photograph of him, I think, too.
And he is the founder of the organization, ISKCON.
He is the founder. He is the one who brought the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra to America.
Now, we're talking way back there now, huh?
Oh, way back.
Yeah. He came in 65, is that correct? Yeah. And when did you come in contact with him?
I met him in April 1969, and I got initiated the very next month.
Wow. So how old were you at the time?
I was 19.
19 years of age. So you've been a strict adherent of the principles and the practices for then, how many years is that?
Around 43.
43 years. Yeah. Now, what about your experience with that? Tell us how everything, how you evolved in that tradition.
Well, through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, Srila Prabhupada said, you can add this, whatever religion you are, you can add the chanting of Hare Krishna, and your love of God will increase. So I started chanting, looking at pictures of Jesus, because I was raised Christian. He said, we don't ask you to give up your love for any religion, but if you add the chanting, your love of God will increase. And I did feel that happening so much that I decided to join the movement. And the very first year, it was called the Hare Krishna Explosion. Young people like myself, were going all over the world to open centers. And I actually went to Japan when I was just still 19 with 2 devotees to start the first Hare Krishna temple in Tokyo.
It was amazing for 19 years old.
It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I think you've traveled to quite a few places because of your involvement. Maybe tell us some of the places you've been to.
Well, it seems like back in the 70s, the devotees were moving around a lot. So I lived in Japan and the Philippines and India for a couple of years when in Bombay the temple was being built that is now completed. And so quite a few places. And I've mostly lived in the ashram. It's called the ashram.
It's like a monastery.
It's like a
For
monastery.
ladies.
Yes.
For the
But
ladies.
I also have been married. So we accept, everything from people full-time, like being monks, or congregational members. We have, however much you want to be involved, you can be involved in Hare Krishna.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
More or less, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So you have a whole lay population. I know
We
a
have
lot of
so
Indian doctors, engineers, people in professional life are involved. Now we have a fantastic image up because you recently went with a great friend of ours also who has been on the show many times, Stephen Knapp.
Yes.
Great author of 25 books on Vedic philosophy, and you both went very recently to India, so tell us about that. And I know you went to the world's biggest spiritual festival.
Yes, this is a picture right here of Stephen Knapp, and some of the characters you would see 30 million people were there at the Kumbha Mela every 12 years in Allahabad, India. It's basically a 7 square mile of tent city. And you can see in this picture, there was a Shivite with ashes covered on him.
But he had the kind of gray and white look, grayish skin, and those are ashes that he had.
Yes, they're the Nagababas. A lot of them live in the
worship,
Himalayan mountains. And you don't generally see these people. They come out of the mountains to this festival. And all different types of people. These are the tents, you can see.
And that's in sand, isn't there? In sand?
Yes, it's kind of sandy, but it's by the Ganges. So everyone wants to bathe in the Ganges, especially on one particular day. You can imagine the crowds.
Tell us about that spiritual significance of that day, Kumbha Mela.
Kumbha Mela comes when astrologically, every 12 years, the constellation, some of the stars looks like a pot in the sky. It looks like a pot, and the legend is there's nectar coming from the pot on the Amavasya or the new moon day. People walk there from miles around just to be there. And now many Western people are going. Many Western people are finding out that this is like a big happening.
Yeah.
And so they're going too.
You said there was like 30 million people that attended.
During
It's
the
just hard to
Amavasya,
wrap around.
well, you couldn't even see the end of the crowds.
Yeah.
And if you can imagine trying to bathe in the Ganges at the same time, I was in the tent. I didn't go to that, but Stephen Knapp did, and he said you were just surrounded by people, and you were going, and basically you couldn't control which way you were going. You're just going with the crowd.
To the
We'll go with the
sacred
flow.
Going with the
You
flow.
go to the river, yeah?
Going to the river.
Yeah. And what's the spiritual significance?
Well, on that particular day, it's said if you are bathing in the Ganges that you can become liberated.
So in other words, you don't have to take physical birth again.
That's possibility, but like Srila Prabhupada said, don't be like an elephant who bathes and then goes and puts dirt on himself. So even if you become liberated, if you go out and do sinful activities according to the Vedas, then you're not so liberated anymore.
Right. Now, your organization, ISKCON, has a big presence there.
Yes.
And we were just looking at some images of the cooking pots. You would think that you would think those were people washing in something.
That's what I thought at first.
No,
they are cooking.
They are cooking for thousands of people, twice a day, thousands of people. Now this takes some muscle besides expertise, and the food is offered to God. It's called Prasada, and it was very delicious. I was shocked. They had very delicious.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And
this is,
plate.
and they pass out, instead of paper plates, they're called leaf plates. These are tiny leaves put together, and leaf cups.
You would not. You would think that was a piece of stoneware.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now tell us the significance of Prasada.
Prasada.
Kind of like Holy Communion, isn't it?
Well, it's vegetarian food that is cooked in a state of meditation, and then it's offered to God, and you're not allowed to taste anything like, does this taste good before you offer it. Actually, you can't taste anything. You offer it.
So you cook it. The cook cooks it
for God.
And for God, and so doesn't taste it or smell it.
Doesn't taste it or smell it. And we could say,
Or
well,
think
God
about
doesn't need to
enjoying it.
eat. Or think about enjoying it. And God doesn't need to eat, but like a child that would make a little card for its parents, we're making an offering.
Yeah.
He says in the Bhagavad Gita, even if you offer me a leaf or water, with love and devotion, I will accept it.
Wow. So then the food takes on this spiritual quality. And you make spiritual advancement just by trying some of that. Well, let's go back and see some of those. So this was again at the Kumbha Mela. Oh, what is this?
Now this is, I was just in India for 2 months, going to different places. This is our ISKCON temple in Vrindavan, India, which is near Delhi.
That's beautiful.
And this was a special festival. This is all decorating the outside of the temple with real flowers.
Oh, amazing.
There were so many, I thought, these aren't real, and I went up to check, and they were real.
Now, this is like, you could say, if you compare it to the Christian tradition, this is like the Jerusalem of India.
Yes.
Vrindavan.
Yes. Or like the Mecca.
The Mecca,
You want to go there at least once.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, look at all
now
those
this, going back to Jaipur, this is what's called the sabji market. Sabji is vegetable. And you can go there, and for a few rupees, Look at what you can buy: fresh vegetables, beans, carrots, whatever you want.
Wow.
And he's happy to barter a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's all part of it. You have
That's
to
part of
barter.
it.
You
You
know.
have to know what you're doing.
Now, this was in Jaipur where they made that famous movie, Marigold Hotel.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jaipur is famous.
Yeah. What was the name of that movie?
It's called something Marigold.
Yeah, the
Hotel.
excellent Marigold Hotel.
Something
that was in the
fantastical. If you just say Marigold Hotel, everybody
Yeah.
seems to know.
That was Jaipur. Don't they call it the Pink City also?
Pink City. Sandstone, a lot of sandstone.
Pinkish,
It's
kind of a pinkish
kind
glow.
of a desert. First time I went to Jaipur, it's in the desert, and you
Yeah.
see quite a few camel carts going down the road with automobiles.
Wow. So right in the Rajasthan
contrast,
desert.
yeah.
Now
Yes.
this is a very, very famous temple.
This is very famous. And I was surprised when I saw this temple, because I've only seen pictures in the books. It's famous for erotic sculptures on the outside.
Yeah.
But I was surprised how large this was when I saw it. And it's very ancient, and it's carved from the top to the bottom. It's just intricately carved.
Is that Karnataka?
Karnak.
Karnak.
In the state of Orissa.
Yeah. And it's
look at
dedicated
this.
to the sun.
It is actually in the shape of the sun god's chariot with the wheels.
That's the wheel
on
of the
side.
chariot. Wow.
And the wheel, I would be standing like about halfway, up from that wheel. That's how large that wheel is.
Wow.
But
Amazing.
all that work that's gone
Yes.
in to make that, all that
It's
industry.
amazing. It's
And
amazing.
thousands of years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
build them like that
Thousands.
anymore.
They don't.
And of course, these temples, they're all built in a particular way. You have to follow a very major format, right?
It's like Vastu, which is the Indian feng shui. The doors will be on a certain direction and
Yeah.
everything placed in a certain way.
It's
On
so
the land,
fantastic.
too, in a certain
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
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 And ley lines, it's holy places,
Yeah.
energy vortexes.
So these would have been built, these different temples in these specific places.
Yes. When you
Holy
go there, you can
places.
feel the
Yeah,
energy
yeah.
from the land and from all the years of worship.
So tell us about your own spiritual experiences. I'd like to get into maybe telling us about the path of Bhakti-yoga. Maybe talk about
Yes.
yoga and then Bhakti and so.
Well, yoga is very popular now, but a lot of people don't know about Bhakti-yoga. Bhakti-yoga is the yoga of devotion to God, and it consists of, our meditation is a lot of times chanting on beads, like rosary, and focusing on the names of God, serving God in different ways, reading different Vedic scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, spoken by Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is about Lord Krishna. We generally, in Bhakti Yoga, worship Radha and Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we have what's called parampara, or gurus who have passed this knowledge down since time immemorial. And just like if you pass a ripe mango down from a tree that's unbroken, this knowledge has been unchanged because of the personal guru who, like Prabhupada, who has come and has actually realized Krishna. He actually can see and talk to Krishna. And that is our goal also, to develop our love of God and to get to that point. It says that in the scriptures that by chanting the names of God, it's like sweeping the heart. Sweeping the heart for many lifetimes, any dust that's accumulated. So when it becomes purified, automatically in every soul, we call it jiva soul, there is that love of God that is naturally there. It just has to be uncovered. So it's a natural experience.
So it's like having a dusty mirror and cleansing the mirror.
And it's like if you're eating and you know you're full, that's the experience. You have to try it. Otherwise, they say it's like a bee on the outside of the jar of the honey that can't really taste the honey, or maybe a fly on the outside of the jar. But one who sincerely wants to practice it can taste it and get what's called a higher taste of spirituality.
There's a big emphasis in the Vedic tradition on learning whatever your yoga system is from a bona fide guru, right? It's a very
Yes.
important principle.
Yes, someone who is realized, because just like there's quacks, there's
anything.
in anything, and there's also different levels of realization. I was fortunate to come in contact with the real deal, Prabhupada.
Yeah. Now in India too, there's so many different schools of philosophy.
Yes.
So it might be very confusing for somebody to just go there
Yes.
and get the real deal. How do you know somebody who's the real deal?
Well, sometimes you have to pray and be very serious, because Bhakti-yoga says that God is within everyone's heart, and He fulfills our desires. I know a couple of people that went to India in the 60s looking for a guru, and they came back very disappointed, and then they found Prabhupada in New York City. So you never know. He might be just around the corner from you.
Yeah. Now how do you know? How do you know somebody is bona fide and somebody's not? Because there's been a lot of bogus people out there.
Well, it's like fool's gold. If you don't know what gold should be, you can get fooled very easily. So you do have to be sincere and do some homework. You know, if someone is saying something and not following himself, then I wouldn't recommend to follow that person. Like, you know, they should be an example, a living example of what they're teaching.
They should walk their talk.
Yeah, and with Prabhupada, just being in the same room with him, I felt a lot of the bliss coming from him. I'll never forget it. So it was just like the sun, you know.
Yeah.
So bright.
Very pure.
So
Very
we've got
pure.
on the screen.
Very pure.
This is, tell us a little bit about Radha, concept of Radha and Krishna.
Radha and Krishna. Krishna actually appeared 5,000 years ago in India, and he has been worshipped ever since. He is the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. In Bhakti-yoga, we worship him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the temples, we have what are called deities of Radha and Krishna. Radha is the feminine aspect on the right that you see in Krishna. Actually, Krishna is the color of a rain cloud, but they used black marble when they carved this deity. And they're decorated very beautifully during this festival, so people can see and come and appreciate, because in our tradition, God actually has a form and a name and a planet, but he's also unlimited. He's simultaneously every place. He has a personal and impersonal aspect. So that's one thing that's very different in the West, this concept of a very personal God that is ever youthful, not like an old man with a beard.
Yeah. And of course, there is a major school of philosophy in India which views the Supreme as totally impersonal.
Yes.
Yes, no form.
Actually, Hinduism itself encompasses a lot of different ideas.
Yeah. A lot of different philosophies.
Yes.
Now, one thing that I'd be interested for you to tell our viewers is give us a little glimpse at your day and when it begins.
Well, those who become very serious and want to devote their life full-time and get initiated, they get a name like my name in the temple is Chintamani. And we have a very early program. It's considered that before the sun comes up is the best time for meditation, for
Isn't that
worship.
4 a.m.?
Yes.
So pretty early.
Yes. The morning program starts the night before. You have to go to bed early. You can't stay up real late and expect to get up. But we have services in the temple beginning at 4:45.
Wow.
And we have a class in the scriptures. We have some chanting and
Meditation,
then,
that goes on for like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. We have chanting on the beads. It's called japa meditation, mantra meditation. We have then breakfast at 9 o'clock. And it's different now than it used to be. When I joined, everyone lived in the temple, but now so many people are married and live outside the temple and have little temples in their own home and just come on Sunday or when we have a festival. So it's really expanded in a different way. Now there's just a core group right at the temple.
And you would, in the old days, you would do the same thing in the evening, that you all gather together.
It's called the spiritual sandwich. You have the top and the bottom, so that all day, even if you go to work, you can come back and go to a Bhagavad Gita class. We always have the Artik, what's called the Artik ceremony, still in the temple today, every day, same time.
That's been going on for thousands of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
It may look new to Westerners, but this goes back in India thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful spiritual tradition.
What is the ultimate level of realization? What is?
I can only tell you what I've read. I haven't experienced that yet. That is sometimes takes more than one lifetime, but you can, by the grace of Krishna and Guru, realize God, they said, in one lifetime, to develop what's called Krishna Prema, or love of God. It's a very elevated divine love that puts you in a state of bliss and real realization of God, who is actually unlimited. It's never boring because Krishna, we call God Krishna. We also say that God has many, many names. Many names.
Yeah, Jehovah,
Unlimited.
Allah.
Many, yes. Like a diamond has different facets. Krishna means the all-attractive one. So by chanting, and I experienced this myself, chanting, especially when Prabhupada would be in the same room, sometimes just feeling the presence of Krishna so strongly, feeling so much love, so much more love. You know, we're all looking for love, ultimately.
Yes.
And in Bhakti-yoga it says that every single soul has a relationship with God. And that is the love we're looking for, that once that's experienced, we won't just be going through these temporary relationships. We're not against relationships. But in our scriptures it says it's reincarnation. So, you know, you will forget the wife or husband you had in your past life. Or maybe you had the same one. But the relationship with God is eternal. And there is a point where one can actually get liberated from the material world if they want, and go back and be with Krishna eternally. And he has many, many devotees, all kind of devotees, and it's just a beautiful place. There's no disease, and it's some place that you can go if you want to.
What you call heaven in the Bible.
It's like heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little more detailed description in our scriptures, though, exactly what's going on.
Now, you put so much emphasis on the name of God. Your whole yoga process is with regard to the name of God. Tell us what the philosophy is on that.
That really started 5,000 years ago. Krishna came 5,000 years ago, but when he taught the Bhagavad Gita, not everyone understood it, so Krishna came again 500 years ago. This time, Radha and Krishna united and came as Lord Chaitanya. You know, this, I can't really explain this in a few minutes, but basically Krishna came and taught how to develop love of God, even though he's God. He came as a devotee of God to show us. And he came and he chanted Hare Krishna on the beads, and also what's called congregational chanting, groups of people chanting. They did this in India, and this was happening all over India 500 years ago. It only came to the West, and if you're older, you may have seen the devotees out chanting.
Yeah.
Where there used to be Hudson's building in front of Hudson's.
In Detroit.
And passing out cookies. That's the same kirtan. Chanting on the beads alone or chanting in a group with people.
So this can be done in any tradition.
Yes, because the sound vibration helps purify the ether. It helps purify the heart and the whole planet. So it's really needed right now in Detroit.
Yeah. Ooh, really big way.
Yeah. We go around our neighborhood where the temple is, but we need to go out again.
Yeah.
Yes, in the world.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to get an experience, tell us about the temple. It's very close. On Lenox 383.
383 Lenox, the Fisher Mansion. Actually, we have a program on Sunday. All kind of people come for the first time. The doors are open for anyone to come and experience the chanting and the spiritual vegetarian food. It starts at 4 o'clock.
It's all
It
free.
is called the kitchen religion for a reason. The food
Kitchen
is
religion.
always, yeah.
Very good, yes.
And there's even a nice diorama exhibit that people can go through.
Mm-hmm. And even the building itself used to be owned by Larry Fisher, so it's a you know,
Quite a place to see.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
yes. It's a piece of history.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Alfred Ford and Elizabeth Ruther were the two people that
Yes.
purchased and started that.
They're actually active members in the Hare Krishna movement.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us on the show. It's been
Thank
really
you.
educational. And we can see you're a living example of the spiritual life. Yeah. So we want to thank all of you for joining us on Out of the Ordinary into the Extraordinary. Don't forget.
God is alive and magic is afoot.
See you next time.